Okay, so there's something very important that needs to be clarified, and I already seen a few talk to me about it on social media, basically saying they were very confused about what the mother Quirks was. So to clarify, after reading the Viz translation, basically, the mother Quirks is just a name. Like, the mother Quirks isn't necessarily the origin, like the first mother of Quirks, okay? So, example. Destro, he is the son of Destro. Destro, is revealed in this chapter, is the son of the mother of Quirks. Now, the mother of Quirks isn't actually the originator of, let's say, Quirks, okay? She is not the first individual to ever have a child born that has a quirk, because it wouldn't make sense logically in the timeline, because All For One would be already around at this point. And if you look at the backstory we got, there was already a lot of prejudice towards quirk users before the child was born from the mother of Quirks. So, it doesn't make sense for, let's say, Destro to be born from the first mother that gave off quirks. So, I just want to clarify that. Basically, the reason why she was given that name was because she was the mother of the term quirk. She was the one that uttered out the name quirk, which in turn, historians, people in history that was writing down history books, politicians, etc., they used her as a martyr, as an example, or just someone as a symbol to get behind, like, oh, she said quirk, let's use that to rally people behind her, because people obviously cared about her. There was a lot of people that loved her, probably, and many people that didn't want to be, suppressed, they followed and, rallied behind her. And after, you had the politicians say, oh, she said this, many would fall in line. Like, oh, you actually agree with her and what she was saying, and so they used her kind of as a way to build a pillar of peace. And so the name came from her sacrifice. And so it's not her being the origin of Quirks, just the origin of the name, which is Quirk. So, okay. There you go, just wanted to clarify that, because I know many are probably very confused because of the way the fan translation was. And honestly, I didn't really understand it completely until after reading Viz Media's translation that came out today. But okay, let's get into something very important I noticed in this chapter, which is absolutely insane. Number one, Twice's quirk is scary. Like, okay. I've already talked about how his quirk seems incredibly broken. I've already talked about that in my last chapter review. However, there is something revealed in this chapter that's actually scary. Like, scary as in, the doubles that Twice makes isn't necessarily true copies. Hear me out. We were always under the impression, when Twice makes a copy of someone, example, let's say he makes a copy of Dabi, he makes a copy of Toga, he makes a copy of Shigaraki, etc. We were always under the impression that the one he made a copy of would be a true copy. Like, they would be 100% the original. They would be everything that, let's say, the original is, except they're just a clone, and they would die easier. However, this chapter reveals something very significant about Twice's quirk. Twice states within this chapter that Twice made a clone of Mr. Compress, and let's say Dabi, and Shigaraki, and they were made from a clone that didn't actually meet up with the real Mr. Compress, or Dabi. So the clone did not ever have the conversation about how he was able to overcome his trauma. So the entire conversation was repeated. Basically, the reveal from Mr. Compress, the clone learned about it. He's like, whoa, okay, that's good you were able to clone yourself. It doesn't seem like anything significant. It doesn't seem like anything crazy or important. But it is, actually. It just actually let us witness a weakness to Twice's quirk. That weakness is that he is not actually copying people. He's copying what he thinks they are. Example. Let's say Twice meets anyone, okay? Let's just use me as an example. I am a heinous individual, okay? Let's say I'm like a main villain of a story or something, okay? He meets me. But Twice is a good guy. And he, for some reason, I put on this persona, this kind act like I'm a good man, okay? And he sees that from me. And I'm lying to him, and I'm putting on this good act and all that. He duplicates me. He would duplicate what he sees and what he thinks I am. He won't duplicate what I really am. See, Twice, when he is creating copies of individuals, he's not creating actual official copies. He's just creating what he thinks the individual is. So when you see a copy of, let's say, Shigaraki, when you see a copy of Toga, when you see a copy of Dabi, when you see a copy of Mr. Compress, etc., he is creating images of what he thinks they are, how their personality is. So it's not really them. Like, yeah, I know it's complicated. It's very complicated because they're not really them because they're clones, but what I'm saying is their mindset is not them. It's just what Twice perceives to be them. So, okay, let's say Toga's lying to Twice, and Toga says she likes the color purple, okay? She likes the color purple. But in reality, deep within Toga, she likes the color red, because blood, okay? We'll use that. But she never tells Twice that she loves the color red. She says, I like color purple. And for some reason, she just doesn't say it. And so, when he makes a copy of Toga, and someone says, what's your favorite color? She'll say, oh, my favorite color is purple, even though it's actually red. And Twice would never actually know what the true official thing she would like. And the Toga that's created would truly believe that she likes, let's say, purple instead of the color red. Because she was created from Twice's image. So yeah, like I said, it's complicated. It's very complicated, but it's very philosophical. It's basically saying that Twice is creating his friends from what he thinks they are. So he could create an imperfect clone that deviates from the original. So example, let's say he thinks someone is good, but they're actually a bad person. That clone could have a very different ideal, a very different way they want to live. One little change in their mindset completely unwinds what they really are. And like, you change a few little details within someone, they probably will go down a different path. Like, let's look at what the story is about. Let's look at, what happened to Gentle. Let's look at what happened to Izuku. Let's look at what happened to our main character in Vigilante. It takes only a few things to go wrong, or certain characters have something happen to them, like Shigaraki as well, to where your life is set on this path that you can never come from. You change a few details of their mindset, that ideal might not ever happen. Their ideal could be entirely different. So, Twice's power is a double-edged sword. He could create someone that is not entirely for what he thinks they are. Like, Dabi right now, he may be a character that is very mysterious to us and all that, and we might think he might be Endeavor's child, whatever, but he could create something to where maybe Dabi could become potentially a good guy. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying he could change someone's character because of how he perceives them into maybe being a good guy or a bad guy. But even if this is a weakness, this is actually a strength as well. If Twice becomes aware of this, actually becomes aware of this ability, he could theoretically create heroes into villains and ruin their image. Like, let's say he created a copy of Ochako. He could, in theory, if he knew the weakness of how creating his duplicates are, he could somehow get, like, bad aspects of Ochako, like hear a bad impression of her, and create a bad Ochako. You see what I'm saying? His power is definitely unique, very different, and scary. And so, I do wonder if that's where Horikoshi is taking it, because there is a lot of hints at that within this chapter, especially with Shigaraki saying, I know what my duplicate will do. He will take down the building, which is also more into what I'm talking about. The only reason why Shigaraki's clone knew what Shigaraki was going to do was because Twice knows Shigaraki, which is good as well. It shows that Twice truly understands his teammates. He understands who Shigaraki is. And so, the clone that was made is a clone that is a really good, perfect representation of someone who Shigaraki is. Twice understands him. And so, that clone is basically how Twice feels about Shigaraki. So, I like that. I love the depiction of that, and I love the way this chapter went in a little bit more on Twice's quirk. But okay, enough with that. I know it's confusing. I might have confused a lot of people with that. I apologize. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys and you just, you turned off the video. But, anyways, let's talk about Redestro. Redestro, his quirk. Honestly, I don't want to say underwhelmed, because I'm willing to bet there's a lot more to his quirk than we know, because Horikoshi is yet to actually state what his quirk is. For all we know, there could be multi-layers that we just don't understand. And so, I don't want to think it's just like a typical enlargement type quirk, like enlarging certain parts of your body, kind of like, what Kendo does in, My Hero Academia. I don't want to assume it's something as typical as that. Someone as like Redestro, I just don't want to believe that that's what his quirk is. There's probably a lot more to it that's tied in with the markings that goes on his face when he starts using his quirk. It definitely has something to do with that, but we don't really know yet because Horikoshi hasn't really revealed that. But from first glance, Redestro is able to enlarge different parts of his body, and I'm assuming you probably enlarge the entirety of his body and super enhance it, make it very strong, because let's look at what was said at the end of the chapter. Shigaraki's like, no matter who you are, a random guy can't just fall that far down and be A-okay. It's just, that's not gonna happen. And so what he was trying to say is that for you to survive that, it must mean that you're an absolute tank. You must be able to tank a lot of damage. So, I'm assuming because of the way the paneling was done, Redestro is able to bulk himself up to where he's able to absorb incoming damage. And so that's probably what he did. When he was falling that far down the building, he probably bulked himself up, hit the ground, and he was able to cushion the blow with just sheer force. And that is why he was kind of looking like he did at the end of the chapter. So, I think that's what his quirk is. I'm assuming, I could be wrong, I'm assuming that's where Horikoshi is taking it. But let's get into the ideals of what drives Redestro. So, like I said earlier, it's revealed that Redestro, he has a lot tied in with the term quirk. His grandma is the one that gave the name quirk out there for the public to use. And the reason why he doesn't want to use the term quirk is because it's actually ruining his grandmother's legacy. It's not something that is, actually being used for good. See, the reason why he doesn't like the term quirk is because his grandmother was like, I think this, child has his own quirk and all that. He has his own quirks about him. We shouldn't judge him for that. And she was just basically asking for an existence where everybody can, go throughout their days without being just judged for who they are. They can be able to use their quirk without being, worrying about people coming after them. And that's kind of the case here, is that Redestro's like, look, they use the term quirk from what she said, but that's not what she meant. She wasn't meaning that. They just used that as a way to get what they want, to suppress people even more. So now I understand why he is so angry with the term quirk, why he wants to kind of get rid of it, because it's, like I said, it's ruining his grandmother's legacy. And when he's also talking to Shigaraki about, now do you understand where I'm coming from? I'm someone that actually wants to change the world, and I have a lot riding upon it, my shoulders and all that, my legacy. And he's like, I'm very different from what your group is, just wanting to, seek destruction. And I love in that moment when he says that, the clone of Shigaraki dies, the building comes crumbling down because of Shigaraki, and the very thing that Redestro stated about destruction happened right before him, basically saying, or confirming to him, that Shigaraki is exactly what Redestro just said. He just wants destruction. And him destroying the building confirms that, and he's like, I guess you missed our entire conversation, or the point, or whatever, was that, I guess you confirmed it. You don't care. You don't care about my ideal. You don't care about what I'm fighting for. You just want to destroy for your own enjoyment or whatever you fight for. So I do like that little back and forth with Shigaraki and Redestro, and it seems like the final battle of this arc is going to be quickly underway. It looks like Horikoshi is really speeding up this segment of the arc, which is kind of upsetting in a way, because I want more of this, because I feel like there's still other characters that have yet to really be dived into, like Mr. Compress. We need more of him. We really need more of Mr. Compress. We also need a lot more of Spinner. I mean, Spinner's gotten some development, but we need more of Spinner as well. And I would also like a lot more development with Dabi. It's besides just hints, obviously. I want some development going on. So, there's still a lot more potential. I just hope Horikoshi isn't rushing this arc to conclusion just to get back over to our main character, Izuku, but we'll see where it goes. Oh yeah, one last thing I do want to mention, though, about Twice, that was confirmed in this chapter, which is also scary, is that his clone was able to make a duplicate of himself while he was dying. Like, you see an example where the Twice clone is dying. He's, melting. But as he's melting, he creates another Twice that stands up at the end and is the one that saves Garan. So this confirms that if the Twice host, like the clone or even the main Twice, does create a copy, and let's say the main Twice dies or the copy dies that created the other Twice clones, all the other Twice clones don't die. Like, they don't just disappear. They will still be there. So this goes along with the theory that the Twice that we know could potentially be a fake. It just, something happens with his quirk. So there's a lot of scary things about that. But I just wanted to point that out. That's definitely something that Horikoshi made very obvious at the end of the chapter, too. So anyways, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give a like. And with that, Chibi out.